And what do you think of the brand YO?
I think it'll be class and quality. I've not seen any items yet, but if Chris has got out to do with it, you know it's going to be quality. Your own clothing. Nice one.
First impressions when you met the brothers?
I've never had a more pleasurable experience. So,
What, not even with your wife? He says, stood between them with half their family in front of them. And if I'd come up to you 25 years ago in the Hacienda and said, like, Chris Anthony, just sit down a minute, in 25 years' time, we're going to be launching a book about your life and you've done this and you've done that, what would you have said to me? Has it took 25 fucking years?
I read the book and I got to the end of it and I thought, fuck, how are we still breathing?
Chris, you're
Yes.
an amazing designer. If you wasn't designing Gio-Goi, what brand would you design?
Obviously, design your own.
We all inspired each other, like the lads were talking about early on, about the early days of Acid House, where we all inspired each other, didn't we? All the free thinkers found each other, didn't they?
Beautiful time.
See, only us know what went on in them days, innit? Inside them houses, inside them clubs, inside them nightclubs, that feeling. We know what went on them days. We're still working on it. We're still working on what we got from them days. We could eat beans on toasters forevermore, fucking living in a caravan, it won't bring our buzz down, we'd still be up there. Straight up in a straight line.
They fucking slaughtered it, man.
After writing about the debauched years of the Rolling Stones,
Yeah.
what tempted you to write about Two Brothers from Wimenshaw?
well, I thought that the 60s, the Rolling Stones in the 60s with Brian Jones, style, attitude, sound, the only thing that was comparable was Gio-Goi.
And your own,
And your own, yeah.
which is our new label.
Why did all of a sudden you decide to talk about what you've been doing for the last 25 years?
Just a good story, innit? It needs to be told. So.
But why now? Why now? Why not 10 years ago? Why not in 10 years' time? Why now?
Kind of getting on a little bit, and you know what? It was a bit more active then. We've calmed down a bit now, you know what I mean?
When you come from like a underprivileged kind of area, you know what I mean, and like I guess like myself, like the people I grew up with, the friends I know, like you got to make things happen for yourself in this world, and I think it gives a person character. I feel people like me, people like Chris and Anthony have have a certain character that other people don't have, because we've had to make things like happen out of thin air. You know, we've just had to kind of somehow take something inside of us and just like make it happen without any help. You know, so yeah, I love their ethics and their attitude.
I mean, people who've read the book say you've made that story up. It can't possibly be true.
Yeah, we're brothers, aren't we? We fall out often, but we fall back in. You know that old saying, blood thicker than water? That's just the way it is.
Ask yourself this question. Did you do wrong on purpose, or did you think that wrong was right? Because that's the question I ask myself when I'm laying in bed at night. That sneaky dig, that slapped up kid, the hearts have carelessly broken. Are these questions still locked away inside, or have these words been spoken? Because this is about the choices we make in pursuit of a personal pleasure. Ponder this at a latter stage and peruse it at your leisure. Have I been good or have I been bad is fundamentally the bottom line. Because when you're stood at the gates of heaven, the big man knows every crime. This is for the kids from the council estates who grew up in big red houses. For kids who die for their closest mates, even if those mates were Scousers. For kids whose lives when growing up were far from beds of roses. Because kids growing up the way these kids grew up was tougher than the average man supposes. For kids who'd bend the rules and set those rules alight. For kids who climb a different mountain every single night. For kids not scared to take a chance, kids not scared to take risks, but would stand in silence respectfully at moments like this. For kids whom the most important person in their world is always your mum. And up there side by side is your missus, because she'll always understand. For kids who lift off pot noodles, kebabs, and on Fridays chippy tea. But now eat pasta, sushi, teriyaki. Or drink the greenest of the greenest tea. Fuck's sake, man. Fucking... Kids who never went to mass and kids who never went confession. Never listened to their mums and dads but learned from their own lessons. And from kids who know that the most beautiful girls that you have ever seen were born in Bagley, Benchill, Woodhouse Park and Newhall Green. These kids who spent their summers on the top diving board at Sharston Baths. And watched grown men cack their Speedos while these kids just stood and laughed. Or chased mad girls, wind-up pool attendants that asked them to leave the pool. Because these kids weren't being taken for a swim. These kids were way too cool. For these kids with the best musical taste, so broad, so cool, so top. Pistols, Roses, Marvin Gaye, Chic, Luther Vandross. For kids who'd groove at Brewster's, then rave down at the Hacienda. I'd always be the last man on the dance floor whenever they're on a bender. For kids who love their clothes and cherish their favourite trainers. For kids born in the greatest city on earth, even if sometimes it's raining. For kids who travel and kids who love their sport. Who also love to visit fashionable shops whilst travelling abroad. Kids who talk all nasal, kids with a proper swagger. For these kids ain't really all that bad. They're just honest northern blaggers. But this is how these kids express their love.